done the painting himself. His gaze shifted from the word flammable printed across the back of the trailer tank, red letters on a white background, to the parallel reflector lines painted in red across the bottom of the tank, to the massive rubber flaps swaying behind the rear tires, then back up again. The reflector lines looked as though they'd been clumsily applied with a stencil. The driver must be an independent trucker, he decided, and not too affluent a one, from the looks of his outfit. He glanced at the trailer's license plate. It was a California issue. Man checked his speedometer. He was holding steady at 55 miles an hour, as he invariably did when he drove without thinking on the open highway. The truck driver must have done a good 70 to pass him so quickly. That seemed a little odd. Weren't truck drivers supposed to be a cautious lot? He grimaced at the smell of the truck's exhaust and looked at the vertical pipe to the left of the cab. It was spewing smoke, which clouded darkly back across the trailer. Christ, he thought. With all the furor about air pollution, why do they keep allowing that sort of thing on the highways? He scowled at the constant fumes. They'd make him nauseated in a little while, he knew. He couldn't lag back here like this. Either he slowed down or he passed the truck again. He didn't have the time to slow down. He'd gotten a late start. Keeping it at 55 all the way, he'd just about make his afternoon appointment. No, he'd have to pass. Depressing the gas pedal, he eased his car toward the opposite lane. No sign of anything ahead. Traffic on this route seemed almost non-existent today. He pushed down harder on the accelerator and steered all the way into the eastbound lane. As he passed the truck, he glanced at it. The cab was too high for him to see into. All he caught sight of was the back of the truck driver's left hand on the steering wheel. It was darkly tanned and square-looking, with large veins knotted on its surface. When Man could see the truck reflected in the rearview mirror, he pulled back over to the proper lane and looked ahead again. He glanced at the rearview mirror in surprise as the truck driver gave him an extended horn blast. What was that, he wondered? A greeting or a curse? He grunted with amusement, glancing at the mirror as he drove. The front fenders of the truck were a dingy purple color, the paint faded and chipped, another amateurish job. All he could see was the lower portion of the truck. The rest was cut off by the top of his rear window. To Man's right now was a slope of shale-like earth with patches of scrub grass growing on it. His gaze jumped to the clapboard house on top of the slope. The television aerial on its roof was sagging at an angle of less than 40 degrees. Must give great reception, he thought. He looked to the front again, glancing aside abruptly at a sign printed in jagged block letters on a piece of plywood. Night crawlers. Bait. What the hell is a night crawler? He wondered. It sounded like some monster in a low-grade Hollywood thriller. The unexpected roar of the truck motor made his gaze jump to the rear-view mirror. Instantly, his startled look jumped to the side mirror. By God, the guy was passing him again. Man turned his head to scowl at the Leviathan form as it drifted by. He tried to see into the cab, but couldn't because of its height. What's with him, anyway? He wondered. What the hell are we having here? A contest? See which vehicle can stay ahead the longest? He thought of speeding up to stay ahead, but changed his mind. When the truck and trailer started back into the westbound lane, he let up on the pedal, voicing a newly incredulous sound as he saw that if he hadn't slowed down, he would have been prematurely cut off again. Jesus Christ, he thought. What's with this guy? His scowl deepened as the odor of the truck's exhaust reached his nostrils again. Irritably, he cranked up the window on his left. Damn it, was he going to have to breathe that crap all the way to San Francisco? He couldn't afford to slow down. He had to meet Forbes at 3:15, and that was that. He looked ahead. At least there was no traffic complicating matters. Man pressed down on the accelerator pedal, drawing close behind the truck. When the highway curved enough to the left to give him a completely open view of the route ahead, he jarred down on the pedal, steering out into the opposite lane. The truck edged over, blocking his way. For several moments, all Man could do was stare at it in blank confusion. Then, with a startled noise, he braked, returning to the proper lane. The truck moved.